We're going to do our hearts. We're going to do our hearts. We're going to go, ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. He, he, he. He, he, he. Woo! Do your heart. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. He, he, he. He, he, he. Woo! This time we're going to clap. And when you clap, you're actually doing things with the pressure points in your hands and on your fingers that also affects the inside of your bodies. Things that we don't know, that we don't need to know, we just know it works. So we're going to go. This is fun, this is fun, this is really, really fun. This is fun, this is fun, this is really, really fun. Now what you're really thinking is, this is dumb, this is dumb, this is really, really dumb.
This is really, really dumb.
Okay. So when you do this at home, you can do it in your mirror or with or without clothes. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you do it. You don't have to do it in the mirror. You can do it any place you want to do it. But the thing is that your brain doesn't know if you're really laughing or not. So even if you feel bad, if you don't feel like laughing, if you don't feel like doing it, and you do it, it actually still changes the chemicals in your brain. And studies show that when you just smile at someone, it changes the chemicals in your brain. So those are easy, simple little things that you can do that can change your mood and change your brain. Okay, this one is called the Hawaiian laughter shake. And I want you to just turn to a partner and shake hands. And we're going to go, aloha, aloha, ha, ha, ha. Aloha, aloha, ha, ha, ha. Now change to another partner so you get to meet someone else. Aloha, aloha, ha, ha, ha. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, this one. Yeah. And when you're high, I mean, it's really a good thing for you. Of course, you don't have to do that, but you can do it at home by yourself. This one's a roller coaster. Pretend like you're in a roller coaster. We're going to go ha, 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 ha. I know. Oh my gosh, she said this is again. Ha, 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 ha. The final one we're going to do is I call the Wizard of Oz. We're going to use all of our facial muscles. It takes fewer muscles to smile than it does to frown. And we're going to first make our cheeks really tight. This one's good if you look around at each other because humor really is contagious, especially when you're looking at each other. Make your cheeks real tight. Make your eyes get real big. And drop your jaw. Look around. There we go. And this is laugh. We're going to go. This is why it's the Wizard of Oz. It's like a lion. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, then again, cheeks tight. Eyebrows up. Jaw down. Ha, 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 ha. Hey, good. Give yourself a straight heart. It's just like you've been jogging. They say that if you laugh 100 times a day, which is 4 times an hour if you're at 24 hours, that's like rowing for 10 minutes. And so it actually changes the chemicals in your brain, the same chemicals that if you jog and get that runner's high, it ignites those same areas of your brain. Or if you do drugs or if you drink alcohol, it's the same thing, but this is a lot cheaper, it's a lot safer. You don't have to get a prescription for it, there's no doctors involved, you can do it anywhere, anytime. The only bad thing about it is it might bother the people around you and you don't care anyway. So we sit down. This is how you do it. So now we're going to talk really quickly about where you can find humor. I find humor just about everywhere. And it's just kind of a matter of training your brain to watch for things that are happening at work, watch for things that are happening at home, watch for signs and things you see. In the introduction, Catherine said that I had been voted as Angelo's famous grandmother, which is just a really honor, but I'll tell you how that happened. One of the nonprofits here was having a woman kind of who billed herself as America's famous grandmother, Mrs. Hughes, and she's very funny, I see her. And she has a little promotional thing when she comes, and people can nominate their grandmothers for the tallest and the prettiest and the smartest. And my granddaughters are up in Abilene. My son is stationed in the Air Force at Dyess, and they're up there, so they get to come down real often. So they put together a little booklet and entered me as the funniest grandmother, and they won. I was so excited. We won this sweet little trophy, but I won the title, which sounds really good in my introduction. But I was at one of the chamber luncheons, and I was kind of bragging at the table about how I was St. Angelo's greatest grandmother and how great that was. And the director of the nonprofit was also at my table, and she leaned over and she said, "Kathy, you do know you were the only one nominated." And I said, "I don't care, I still like the title." My littlest granddaughter, when I went to pick her up one time in Bront, she went in to go to the bathroom, and she said, "Grandmother, do you have to go to the bathroom?" And I said, "No," and she said, "You should try." Another time, we were driving, and I could see her looking at me out the side. She said, "Grandma, are you looking for a boyfriend?" And I said, "Well, you know, I'd like to have somebody to go to the movies with." And she said, "You need to get a Mustang." Billboards are a really good place. I saw a billboard in San Antonio that said, it was for a medical center, "Vasectomies, no kidding." I saw another one in Austin that said, "You can smell our pits from miles away." It was for a barbecue place. In Lanao at Iman's, there's one that says, "We've been smoking the good stuff since the 60s. And all those things are funny. I have to write them down, and let me tell you, I clown a lot and ask a lot of people at the hospital. Nobody remembers jokes. We always think we're the only one. Nobody remembers jokes. So I write them down. I have what I call my joy journal. It's got a little bee on it so I can be happy. And I put my little hearts on it too. And when things happen at the hospital, especially, I write it down because it's real easy to forget them, and then I can share them with other people. Magazines are a good place. A photography magazine had an ad that said, "You shoot your mother and we'll blow her up." There used to be a pet store here that it smelled really bad, and it had a sign on it that said, "If this was a bakery, it would smell like bread." What else? Magazines. Even during times of stress, I read a book that was called "I'm Having a Bad Hair Day" by a lady that had cancer. And when she came home after having a mastectomy, the doorbell rang and her little 6-year-old son answered it, and she hollered downstairs, "Who is it, honey?" And he said, "More flowers for your breast." My brother was recently diagnosed with colon cancer just before Thanksgiving, and we did the surgery and everything, and we got together as a family for Christmas, and it was kind of uncomfortable for everybody. So being the sister that's the humorist, I gave him a Christmas cancer package. I gave him a fake mustache in case his mustache falls off. I gave him a cap with hair coming out of it. He's almost bald anyway. And then I gave him a T-shirt that says, they call me Chemo Sabi, which he wore to his first chemo treatment, and that made everybody in the treatment center feel better. And I gave him a great big smiley face with a clown nose on it, and he hung it on his IV. So it made him different than all. I always think when someone has cancer, how do you make them different than all the other people that are there, so that the nurses get to know the personality and everything. In the hospital, I know, floods. There was a flood in Kansas last year, and you could see all that stuff going down. It was just so horrible. And there was a restaurant that had a sign on the roof that said, "Waitress wanted, must be able to swim." And during the earthquakes in California, there was a sign in the yard, and the house was just like toothpicks, and it said, "House for sale, some assembly requires." So even times during stress, humor can bring it down. It has to be the right time, the right place, and the right people to make humor work, and that's kind of changing all the time. So balancing humor is important. Finding out what your sense of humor is and surrounding yourself by other people who also share that helps you to be funny, because if you're paired with someone who either has a warped sense of humor, you should never use humor to hurt anybody or put anybody down. It should always be to be lighthearted or lift people. In the hospital, I visited a man that had his leg up in a sling. I don't know what they call it, but it was up in the air. And I play a musical instrument, and I said, would you like me to play a song for you? And he said, well, can you play the UT fight song? And I said, well, I can, and I played it. And when I was finished, I said, did you go to UT? He said, no. He said, I'm an Aggie, but if you play the Aggie song, I have to stand up, and I can't do that. There was another man that was in the rehab area, and he was in a wheelchair and had a stroke and was kind of slumped over in his chair. And I just kind of walked up to him, and he lifted up his eyes, and he said, what are you doing? There was a lady that I thought was really funny in one of the rooms, and this kind of shows you that you get back in the universe what you give to the universe. And I knocked on the door, and I said, would you like a clown? And she said, oh, okay. And I said, well, no, you're not feeling well. I don't have to come. Oh, no. She said, come. So I did, and I said, well, would you like to hear a song? And she said, well, what would you play? And I said, well, I can play Everybody Loves You on My Sunshine. Oh, no, I hate that song, she said. And I said, well, how about Zippity Doo Dah? And she said, oh, no, I don't hear that one. And I said, well, I'm going to play How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? So I played that, and it was finished. And she said, well, it was okay, but you're really not very funny. So she wasn't open to humor at all. But she did let me in the room, so you just never know. There was another man down in the day surgery area, and I do a lot with the families in there. They're tense and nervous and a lot of anxiety when you're waiting for somebody to have day surgery or someone that's in surgery. And I don't really know what they're doing, so I have to kind of be careful because one family might be having a colonoscopy and another one might be having cancer surgery. So you just have to kind of be easy when you go in there. But there was a man down in that waiting area that had this really nice pink starched shirt on, and it was October, which is National Breast Awareness Month. And I said, gosh, that is such a pretty shirt. Is that for breast awareness? And he says, I'm aware of breast no matter what shirt. And the final one that I think is the funniest, there was a man that was in his room with his wife, and he was probably in his late 40s, and I said, can I do something for you? Would you like to hear a song? He said, well, no, but you can do something for me. He said, my wife, see my pretty little wife over there? And I said, and he said, well, I'm fixing to get a little. Would you stand outside the door and honk your horn at me? So you just never know what you're going to run into when you're in the hospital. In the ICU, there was one of the nurses, and it's kind of like a MASH mentality sometimes. And I said, how's it going today? And she just kind of bent over and she said, I see you. Which is a horrible thing you wouldn't mind me to say, but if you're working with your peers and would say that, it kind of says, oh my gosh, my life, this is hard working down here. In the hall, I met another guy that worked in the cath lab, and I said, how's your day going? And he said, well, we really don't have enough work. Would you tell your friends to eat more than that? And so there's just little things that go on between people, like you at your work could share things that maybe you wouldn't want anybody else to hear, but give you a release and kind of relax your stress a little bit sometimes. So I want to end with a little song that I've written. And before I do that, I'm going to tell you that I'm just finishing a videotape that I'm going to put online that is going to go on our website so that if people outside San Angelo want to hire me, they can see a tape. And so I have a videographer man right back there, David. And if you've had a good time, if you've learned anything, if you thought this has been fun, if you would just stop back there and briefly give him a little comment that he can film and say how wonderful and smart I am, I would appreciate it. So the last thing we're going to do is a song that I've written myself. And it's about all the things that you can get with stress, and then there's a part that's your part, and you'll get it when I hold it up. So my part is high blood pressure, indigestion, sex and sleep, both deprivation, don't forget depression, and of course anxiety. Heart disease and acid reflux, did you know stress causes constipation? Headaches, backaches, ulcers, nightmares, even